Okay, algebra students. All right, so this is the bear. This is one of the harder problems, in my opinion, in all of Algebra 1. We're going to go through it once. I'm not going to put a ton of pressure on you to know this, but we're going to need it. So here it is. Save it in your memory banks. Put this someplace nice. I know how to use this, so let's do this together. And listen, I understand if you don't know how to do this, we will do this in a very different way. Now, normally, division, we could say it's multiplication, but the problem with the last one compared to this one is here I have a binomial. If you remember our definition of binomial, bi means 2, nomial means numbers. M plus 1, that thing is called a binomial, that number. Now, if I did that with all of them, I'd make it much more difficult on myself. There's a way to do this. We're going to do if you remember long division. So I'm going to do this. 2m squared minus m minus 3. Over here, I'm going to put our other one, which is when it's divided by m plus 1. Now, if you remember long division, you'll know this about this. Well, if I'm going to take this number, remember, we have to say how many times it goes in there. Well, I have to do a little bit of a multiplication problem here. I want to match up this 2m squared with m. Well, they both got to be 2m squared. Well, to get that, I'm going to go down here. To get 2m plus 1, so this is 2m squared, I have to take this m plus 1 and multiply it by 2m. And you'll see why this works. 2 times that makes me 2m squared plus 2m. That's not bad, right? So I could just put that here, 2m squared minus 2m. And up here, I will just say 2m. That's what I used. Now, if you remember from long division, you subtract these two numbers. And look at this, 2m squared minus 2m squared, that magically goes away. Now, look at this, how nicely these line up. Well, negative m minus a negative, plus 2m. But this is turned negative because I'm subtracting this whole thing. So m, negative 1, negative minus a plus 1, plus 2, equals minus 3, m, minus 3, comes down. And now we're saying, well, let's see what can go next. Well, the next part is, well, I got to make this m equal to negative 3. So go back down here, m plus 1. How can I get that to negative 3m? Well, I have to multiply it by negative 3. And if I multiply it by 3, use the distributive property, this becomes negative 3m, and this becomes negative 3. So now, you're saying, wait a second. When I subtract these two from each other, 3 minus a negative 3, keep, change, just becomes 0. Negative 3 minus negative 3 is 0. Minus 3 minus negative 3 is 0. So this number, we said negative 3. So this number divided by this number, 2m squared minus m plus 3 divided by m plus 1 is 2m minus 3. Now you're like, well, I don't believe you, Lance. Okay, well, let's do the opposite of division, is multiplication, but we do our multiplication, the box method, for binomials. I'm going to put the original one, m plus 1, up here. Now I'm going to put our answer, 2m minus 3, over here. And if I am right, our final answer should be this. 2m squared minus m minus 3. 2m times m, 2m squared. 2m times 1, 2m. Negative 3 times m, negative 3m. And negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Okay, you're still following me here. I'll pull out these numbers. 2m squared. Let's make it minus 3m plus 2m minus 3. 2m squared. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1, or just negative m minus 3, which in turn leads back to the original number. It's a long one. It's good to practice. My feeling here is let's not necessarily drive ourselves nuts with this one. The homework I will give with this will not be one of these. Though if you would like to try it, you definitely can. There'll be some examples on the homework sheet if you want to go with that. Okay, so guys, have a good one. I will talk to you tomorrow.